Welcome to New Life Live with host and founder of New Life Ministries, Stephen Arterburn. New Life Live is dedicated to transforming lives one at a time, thanks to the giving hearts of you, our listeners. Our goal is to provide you with wisdom from God's Word to give you hope and help in life's hardest places. If you have a question you'd like to ask today, our phone lines are open. Call 1-800-229-3000. That number again is 1-800-229-3000. Now here's Steve.
Okay, Larry Sonnenburg sitting in for Steve today, and I'm blessed to be here with Dr. Alice Benton. Hi, Alice.
I'm taking notes already. We have such good material to share with you folks.
Yeah, we talk at the break, so it's kind of fun.
I don't really listen to you, Larry, but I take notes when Chris talks.
Okay, I'm out of here.
Oh
and
my
Chris
gosh.
Williams is the other.
Don't bring me into this. So.
We might need you for counseling. We were talking about anger and how much anger is out there. It goes along with fear and anxiety. But you had some interesting thoughts. Alice was taking notes, like she said.
Well, and I'm going to go a little bit different direction because I think it needs to start with what anger is. You know, we see in the Bible God gets angry. And so anger is our natural God-given response to a real injustice. And so there's reason to be angry. If we see powerful people harming vulnerable people through acts of injustice, i.e. child abuse, we should be, if we're not angry about the international slave trade, especially in the sexual worker industry, then there's something wrong with us. If we're not angry that children are being captured and being war slaves, then there's something wrong with us. So anger is a good thing.
That's what we do with it.
When it points to a problem that needs to be resolved. However, in the Bible, we see that there's other emotions that don't come with warnings. It doesn't say don't sin in your joy. It doesn't say don't sin in your peace. It says don't sin in your anger. Anger, therefore, we must respect it, has a much different energy around it. And all we have to do is open up our eyes and see the world around us, see our own lives, and how much unbelievable injustice has occurred from anger in our attempt to address injustice. We need wisdom. We need discernment. And obviously, we need a lot of love to be able to do anger well. But it's really, really hard because it's hard. It's difficult.
Yeah.
You know?
I didn't think I could experience anger as a young adult, but I didn't realize that in not knowing how to voice upset, I was building such bitterness and resentment, and then it would leak out in other passive-aggressive ways.
That is my pathway, because in growing up, being the youngest, I was harmed by anger, and if I got angry, I was harmed again. So I learned to avoid anger at all cost. But it's a mob boss. I'm going to pay up at some point in time, right? But when we can do the work to transform anger from being a mob boss, a thing that we're trying to avoid but keeps showing up in harmful ways, into being a friend that we pay attention to, that speaks to problems that need to be addressed. And then the wisdom comes in how we address those problems.
At its best, it's a holy protective energy that empowers us to protect ourselves, relationship, people around us, and that's what God wants us to use good holy anger for.
Yeah, and to really to solve problems, you know, and if we can use it, and so we get verses like this, you know, be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. Well, notice that James is doing a great reversal here. Anger is fast and furious. Speaking comes out naturally and impulsively. Listening is harder to get to. But he puts it first, and let's say, hey, let's reverse this thing. Let's be people who are quick to listen, slow to speak, slow to become angry.
Listening's an act of humility.
Absolutely, without question.
And it's an acquired skill that takes practice and work.
It's work. It is a lot of work. Maybe the hardest work that we do, because it requires work on the insides.
Okay, we are going to take some calls right after the break. Call us if you've got anger issues, fear, anxiety, grief, relational issues. We want to talk to you. 800-229-3000. We're right back to talk to Michael.
I have a 15-year-old. She is very defiant. rude and disrespectful to me.
Children don't come with a set of instructions, so what's a parent to do?
She has very intense screaming fits.
Do you feel equipped to tackle the tough decisions and issues that can have a lifelong impact on your kids?
I have a 11-year-old daughter, and I'm trying to help her with the situation regarding school.
Are your children ready to thrive in this culture?
I just feel like I'm at the end of my rope with her.
Let New Life's online one-day workshop, Fearless Parenting, Preparing for the Teen Years, help. It's Saturday, October 2nd. You'll learn about bullying, discipline, boundaries, challenges in parenting, smartphones, social media, and screen time, how your own struggles affect how you parent, and much more. With insightful teaching and the guidance of a credentialed New Life counselor, this one-day workshop can equip you to meet the challenges of raising children in the 21st century. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE to register or to find out more. 1-800-NEW-LIFE. To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Okay, we are back, and we're going to take Michael's call. He's been very patient and holding on. Michael, how can we help you today?
First of all, thanks for taking my call, and I just want to get on the rooftop and shout about y'all's organization.
Aww.
About
Thank you.
the past
right
couple of
ahead.
years that I've called, and y'all sent me some books and life recovery from workbooks from divorce and mending, fences with your father, and which I lost my father when I was 6, but I was raised by a heathen, so I give when I can, and I just wanted to pass out some attaboys.
Oh, we love attaboys.
Man, can we give an attaboy right back at you, Michael? My heart leaps when I'm hearing you, because hearing us and then getting the material and then doing the work is quite honestly not enough of us guys are doing out that work out there in the world. And I was thinking about this as part of my role. Part of my responsibility as a father and a husband in my own household is to, as much as it depends upon me, is provide safety and security for the family. And here's what us guys miss all the time. And here's what us people miss all the time. We look for the threat on the externals. I want to protect my children from the things out in the world, forgetting that the biggest threat is internal. It's inside of me. The best thing that I could do to provide safety and security for my wife and my kids is go to work on making myself a safer person. And that is the best protection I can offer them.
So, Michael, what encouragement would you give to other men who are not as willing to jump into the healing path like you have been?
I would just try to encourage them to be patient and pray. And like the last correspondence I got from y'all was, correct me when I'm wrong, guide me when I'm lost, strengthen me when I'm weak, and give me a push when I want to quit.
That's
and
beautiful.
Can't get no more simpler than that.
No, you can't.
And there's a lot of power in that simplicity. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, you're the caller of the day, and you're only the first caller, so that's really something. But
You put a big smile on our faces, Michael.
Michael, what book?
I'm glad, because y'all sure helped me.
Hey, man, I hear that accent, and I just want to get on your front porch with sweet tea and hang out and have a good conversation.
Can I come too?
In a rocking chair.
Yeah,
exactly. There you go, brother.
Hey, Michael, what book would you like that you don't have, that we have offered? Anything come to mind?
Actually, I sent the last couple of books that y'all sent to me, the Life Recovery Workbook by Steve and Dr. Stoops. I sent that to my youngest son. Also, the one Dr. Stoops had published about mending fences with your father if you went through a divorce.
Oh, okay, yeah.
The different stages,
Well, look for a package in the mail. We're going to send you that. Okay?
Well, I certainly appreciate it. I give when I can.
Okay,
God
well,
bless you, brother.
yeah, we sure appreciate your call. It started our day off on a good note.
Thank you, Michael.
Call back again
Amen.
sometime.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Yes, sir.
Wow. Oh, I was just going to go to Elizabeth, and Elizabeth left. Oh, boy. Well, let's go to Judy. Judy is on line 2, and she's in Saratoga, New York on WHAZ. Hello, Judy. How can we help you?
Hello. Hi. Thank you so much for taking my phone call. I have been listening to New Life for many, many years, and I am in my 60s. I have suffered with depression for most of my life and also shame. I'm just going to give you a little bit of background. In 1979, my brother, that was a pharmacist, committed suicide. He became paranoid schizophrenic, and he was one of the most beautiful people I have ever known. And then in 1980, a year later, my dad, at the age of 53, died from pancreatic cancer. And in 1981, I was married. I was married to my husband for 38 years, and he was never there for me emotionally. And a year before we got a divorce, he was having an affair with someone that was 22 years younger than him. And when we got divorced finally, they got married 2 weeks after the divorce ended. My thing is that my son and his wife have not been able to come to my house for 4 years because I've become a hoarder. And I do have an adult child that's going to be living back here with me at my home for 2 years while they finish their another degree that they need to get. And I have been told that my home belongs to God and that God is a God of peace and order. And my home is anything but that. I want to have my home so I can invite people here and my family can come here and God can use my home for whatever purpose he has. But I hate this about myself. And I was raised in a home. My mom was a hoarder. And I'm willing to try anything. I'm willing to do anything. I just don't understand what is wrong with me.
Well, Judy, first and foremost, our heart breaks for you. You've been through tremendous relational losses and pains. And so there is a different home than you're thinking of that God is way more concerned about than your physical home, and that is your heart.
Okay.
Your home. And that's where the chaos is. That's where the lack of peace is and the confusion. But really underneath all of that, that's where the pain is. Because hoarding really comes from this fear of letting go and becoming invisible and not having anything to hold on to. And so a lot of times, again, I don't want to minimize it because it gets a little bit more complex than this, but at the heart of it, it is our avoidance of grief. And you have a lot of sadness there. And I want you to be able to find a safe and secure place to begin to talk through the pain of your losses, the fear and the confusion that has created in your life, and eventually to bring order back to your insides, back to your heart.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that looks like going through a grief recovery process.
And I bet, Judy, that no one can be trusted, and probably not even God, because everyone has failed you. Even your child who hasn't come to see you in 4 years because of your hoarding. You've experienced so much rejection and abandonment in your life.
Yeah, and one other thing, the year that I got married after my dad died, all I wanted to be was loved and accepted by my soon-to-be husband's mother and family. And his mom was extremely verbally and emotionally abusive to me, and so was one of his sisters. And I finally realized years later it's because she did not have a close relationship with her husband, and she was emotionally attached to the person I was going to marry. but that was a horrific loss.
Judy, I would guess, too, that you have so many more on the list of losses and hurts and rejections. And what I can tell about you in this phone call is that your heart is yearning to tell the stories and to be heard and understood in your pain. So when you have thought about getting structured help in the past, what happens inside of you when you consider taking that kind of risk?
Well, I have gone to Finding Freedom, and I have gone to, what was the other one that I went to? When there's been a betrayal in a marriage.
Way to go, girl. Way to go.
Have you,
and
have you stayed in the groups?
I haven't.
Okay, that's where your progress is going to be made. You because there's this old Johnny Lee country song called "Looking for Love," and it goes looking for love in all the wrong places.
Exactly.
And that's what you've been doing. You've been looking for love in all the wrong places. We want to help you find love in the right places, and that's actually going to be through the guidance of a good therapist or counselor, as well as other women who can surround you and help you see yourself in the world around you well.
You can still join a group from those workshops. So
Okay. And the other thing is I'm involved with Celebrate Recovery at 2 local churches, and I love that. I love that so very much.
I'm delighted that you're doing Celebrate Recovery. Because those groups are so structured, which is fantastic, there's limited processing within the group, and you need deep processing and a lot of it, and your heart is ready for it. So
yes, because you know why? I realize God is my husband, and He promises that He will never leave me nor forsake me, and He promises to take care of every one of my needs. And that's more than I can ask for. But my prayer is that I can become a whole person so God can use me in any way He chooses to be used.
Yes, and there's an aspect. It says that in the prophets it talks about Jesus being a man acquainted with many sorrows. So I want you to acquaint yourself with a man who is acquainted with many sorrows. Okay.
And that's going to happen through a New Life group, and you need to let us also set you up with a counselor so you can go deep with one person, with a safe person.
Okay.
You know, Judy, when I hear you talk, it makes me think of what Steve often says. We're waiting for God to do what He's waiting for us to do. And
exactly.
So you got to take that first step. You got to make the phone call, join the group.
I am willing to do whatever I need to do.
Yeah, I believe you.
Well, call our 800 New Life or have the call screener transfer you over. And whoever answers the phone there, you tell them that you've been to those workshops and you realize you made a mistake by not joining the group, and you realize now you need to join that group.
And we'll send you a copy of the Emotional Freedom Workbook.
Yeah.
And folks, if it ever is finances holding you back from doing this work you know you need to do, New Life has an awesome scholarship program.
Yep.
So don't hesitate to ask for our help that way.
Okay, Judy?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you for
You are
calling.
so amazing, and there are so many broken people that need to hear your program.
Oh, thank you.
Well,
girl.
the beauty of this program is there are other people like you that have very similar situations that are scattered all around this country, and they heard this counsel from Chris and Alice and are helping you, and they can go do the same thing now.
And Larry, I'm going to jump in, okay?
Never stopped you before.
So here we go. Alice, you mentioned something really important, is that we do have scholarshiping programs here. We are about regenerating the resources that God has given us and to continue to put them into use to healing in life's hardest places. And we offer that through a tremendous amount of hope. Friends, if you can continue to join us, if you can continue to regenerate God's kingdom here on earth through very tangible ways of especially this emotional and relational healing ministry that we have, please give.
Yep. Thank you.
And it's really easy. You can go online. It's www.newlife.com.
Right.
You can give us a call, 1-800-NEW-LIFE. And there's plenty to join us in that with.
You can drop a check in the mail. You can donate stock. You can remember us in your estate plans. There's all kinds of way to give. So, and if you give this month, this is the last day of the month. So we're going to give you a copy of Understanding and Loving Your Child with ADHD. If you have a child just like Chris, you're going to need this book.
Or like Larry.
we will pray for you.
But no, we talked in an earlier program about these labels don't mean that your child can't have a great life and live a normal life or more normal life and be successful in relationships and being a whole person. So give us a gift. We'll give you that book, and it'll make a difference in your life as well as your kids. Stay tuned. We'll be right back after this. Take another call.
It had become very apparent that some of the things I was involved with were taking over my life.
In today's world, men are barraged with inappropriate content and images all day, every day. Some say that certain behaviors are just no big deal. It's just part of being a guy. But it's simply not true. It's a battleground for every man, and the opportunities to fail are everywhere. New Life's Every Man's Battle Workshop can help.
After 7 years, he just one weekend, a completely changed man.
For over 20 years, New Life Ministries has been helping men regain their integrity and purity through their one-of-a-kind Every Man's Battle Workshop.
He said, I think this is something that every man should go to. Married, dating, it was definitely life-changing.
Now the workshop is coming to Houston, September 10th through the 12th. Don't wait for him to call. To find out more, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE or go to newlife.com. 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
Hi, this is Steve Arterburn, and for 30 years, New Life has been the most trusted name in Christian counseling.
Your ministry has saved my life.
If you struggle with emotional hurt, family or marriage problems, the pit of depression, or the pain of addictions, we can help.
I'm down 100 pounds now from what I was.
You guys are awesome. You're a blessing to America.
Our treatment programs provide clinically appropriate solutions from licensed professionals, all in the biblical framework.
I have had problems with alcohol. I think God has ordained this place to be His.
You don't have to be a prisoner of your pain. Help is available at 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
She tells me that I'm a new man, and I feel like a new man.
It worked for me, and it can work for them too.
This time it is different.
If you're ready to take the first step toward genuine spiritual and emotional healing, please call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. God can open the door to a better tomorrow right now. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433.
We'd love to hear from you. If you have a question or a comment, call toll-free 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Okay, we're back. And I want to continue on a little bit with the discussion we started at the top of the program and add a little bit to it. We were talking about anger and fear and how those go together, and what Chris gave a good summary about fear. And add into that mix grief. I was thinking of this last phone call and how much grief she went through.
Yeah.
And what that does to a soul, the fear that comes in a situation of grief.
And most of us have learned and been taught to repress grief. Don't cry. Mm-hmm. You're not supposed to cry. Even over the death of a loved one. Yeah. Don't mourn them. You got to pick it up and you got to keep on moving. It's not helpful to grieve. It is an enormous lie that it's not helpful to grieve. And when we try to avoid grief, it can turn into anger and irritability, both towards self and towards others. And when anger is turned inward, it can develop into depression.
Yeah. Depression and anger, it can move itself into a shutdown mode, which is a form of depression, and also flip into anxiety. I see so much repressed grief turn into anxiety. Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's this story that my kids have. We're going on a bear hunt. We're going to catch a big one. Yeah. We're not afraid, no way. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, we're going on a bear hunt. We're going to catch a big one. We're not afraid, no way. Uh-oh. There's a forest. I can't go over it. I have to go, or I can't go around it. I have to go through it. And then it goes crunch, 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 crunch. Well, continue on. I'm going on a bear hunt. I'm going to catch a big one. oh no, there is a river. I can't go over it. I can't go around it. I have to go through it. This is our experiences of life. I'm going on a life hunt. I'm going to catch a big one. I'm not afraid, no way. However, fear does show up. Our pain shows up. There is a divorce in the family. There is addiction in the family. There is abuse that has happened. There is pain that is unresolved, pain that lingers on. And we do so much exhaustive effort to try to go over it and try to go around it. But friends, there's only one way. It's through it. And so we need those places in our lives to be able to go through it, to be able to experience sadness. This old notion of like strong men don't cry, the irony and the painful irony is it's the exact opposite.
You should see the tears at every man's battle.
Exactly, exactly. So a weakened man doesn't know how to cry. Mm-hmm. A strong man knows how to cry. He knows how to experience life as it gives it to him and work through it.
And working through Psalm 23, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I walk through it.
Yes.
It doesn't say, yea, though I go around the valley.
Yeah.
Or build a bridge to go over it. You walk through it.
Yeah. And he prepares a table in the presence of my enemies. We have opposition in our life. And these struggles and these difficulties that we're all trying to avoid, our avoidance is not a way through. It's a detour that delays the process.
Okay.
I deeply appreciate that the strongest man that ever lived, Jesus, cried.
Yes.
And that's in the Bible. It's documented, and it gives all of us, men especially, permission to cry.
I'm glad for that, because I cry all the time. Too easy. Scares me.
Well, you show the rest of us how to do it.
There you go. Okay, we're going to talk to Bethany. Bethany's from Ann Arbor, Michigan, and watches on YouTube. Hi, Bethany.
Hi, how are you?
We're doing great. How can we help you today?
Awesome. I was calling because I was talking with a good friend of mine recently, and she's really struggling in her relationship. And I was wondering what advice you would give for her situation. She's been dating this guy for 2 years. They love each other a lot. But he is a commitment phobe, I guess you could say. He is an avoidant attachment style, and any thought of anything more than just dating, talking about marriage, scares him. Thinking about going to her counselor with her scares him. Thinking about just even reading how he loves scares him. So how long is too long to wait for him?
Any second longer is too long? Because...
well, he's comfortable where he is, and he just wants to stay where they are.
That's exactly why. That's exactly why. Because that avoidance is a form of control. So if he's not willing to work on himself, then exactly what she has right now is exactly what she'll get the rest of her life. And I would not expect anything different, because he's already shown her. Like, I'm showing you exactly how I'm going to be and show up. And I'm showing you what I'm not willing to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
2 years is such a good rule of thumb. It's a good guideline that if a relationship is stretching beyond 2 years and we're looking for the commitment of marriage and we're looking to get serious in that way, but one person in the relationship isn't even willing to consider it yet or do the work to get there, it is a big red flag. And at least he's being honest about how he sees it.
Right.
Giving her fair warning.
His yes is yes and his no is no. Pay attention to his no.
Now, is there something amazing about him that negates what we're saying?
He just makes her feel so comfortable. She's a super introvert, so he just really gets her, and she's never felt that from anyone.
Yeah, we have a term for that. It's called a trauma bond. Okay, that she has organized herself around that which is safe and comfortable and cocooned, but you can't grow there. I mean, that cocoon is not going to turn itself into a butterfly. It's going to rot away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there anything reasonable she could ask of him to show that growth if he wants to do that?
She already has. Let's go to premarital counseling.
Yeah, let's hold that for after the break. Okay. We're coming up on a break. We'll be right back We're talking with Bethany, trying to help a friend figure out some relational issues. We'll be back right after this.
For most of my life, I've been dealing with an opiate addiction.
Why is opioid addiction quickly becoming one of our nation's biggest killers? Maybe it's because it isn't only those who are addicted who are in denial.
We did what I see so many parents do, is it can't be an addiction. There's something medically wrong.
It's impossible to solve a problem when you don't know what you're up against, and families will try to find any explanation except the one that will put them on the right path.
Alcoholism and drug addiction is a family disease. It doesn't affect just the individual.
If someone you love is abusing painkillers, know what you're up against. It's time to admit it's addiction and seek treatment. Call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. We have Christ-centered partner treatment centers around the country. Call 1-800-639-5433 or visit us online at newlife.com.
We just made a decision. We will do whatever it takes.
1-800-NEW-LIFE.
I was really living a very anxiety-filled life. I did go to Take Your Life Back. That's why I continue to support the ministry with the hope that not only am I helping my own situation, that I'm helping others as well.
You can help New Life Live stay on the air by joining Club New Life today. When you sign up to support us monthly through Club New Life, we'll send you the New Life member thank you gift of the New Life Journal, 100 Days of Peace, 7 Ways to Choose Healing, Growth Has No Boundaries, a Restoration Bible, and a New Life grocery tote to hold it all. Plus, there are ongoing benefits, like access to the Club New Life video library, the monthly Club New Life CD or download, quarterly resources, free shipping on purchased resources, and discounts on workshops. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433. Support Club New Life, and together we can help hurting people find help and hope in life's hardest places. Call 1-800-639-5433 to join Club New Life today. We're glad you joined us for New Life Live. To be a part of the program, call 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Okay, we are back, and we're talking to Bethany. And Bethany's trying to help a friend out here. And I think Chris had a few more thoughts, and maybe Alice too.
Yeah, when we find ourselves caught in our fears, especially our relational fears, what tends to happen is we tend to go one of two directions. We tend to ramp up and we go for intensity, or we tend to ramp down and we go for comfort and safety. And all of those are a way to avoid our fears. And so it sounds like Bethany, your friend, has ramped down. And so she's avoiding her fear. And so I would say, I understand if he, has he ever given a reason of why he won't go to work on any of this stuff? Or like you said, he won't go to counseling? Or
Yeah, he just says he feels uncomfortable talking to other people about what he's struggling with. He feels it's a private issue. I think also the idea of going to counseling regularly like she does, that's, another commitment aspect that kind of freaks him out. Like, I recommended to her, to ask him just to go once, because that's completely non-committal. She said she was going to try to do that, see if that works, but I think that'll be the telltale
Did she invite
sign.
him into her counseling, so they're doing this together, or to go find someone?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I would flip the crisis or the attention away from him and on her, because what your friend is struggling with is recognizing and asking for her own needs to be met, her own desires. And that she keeps settling for a lower and lower and lower and lower and lower bar. I understand from his perspective that, I don't want to go into counseling because I am afraid, what he's not saying, and I'll say it for him, I'm afraid they're going to ask me to touch my pain, and I'm not ready to touch my pain. Okay? But as long as he's unwilling to touch his pain, because we were talking about before, then his pain will rule him. And so, and then she just loses herself, which is her own needs and her own desires and her own dreams of building the life that she would love to build, to his avoidance and lack of follow-through.
I think some of us need to be observers of the healing process for a little while before we're willing to become participants of it. And we can be observers he could be invited into the session as just an observer, and he doesn't have to say anything. He doesn't have to do anything, but to watch the safety unfold and take place. I'm curious if he'd be willing to do that. And it does sound like there's a hint of willingness to do some private activities with her. So how we love is such a fundamental answer. That book is a fundamental answer to the avoidance style that these two might both be dealing with. And so inviting him to read that book. And then we have an entire library of videos that teach all about this. And if he would watch, if he would receive information in that way, it might possibly stir more willingness and courage within him to do more about it.
Yeah. I like that of observing someone. And one other thing, and I'm kind of pouring water on this thing, on this fire, because I'm really concerned about this relationship. And that is to encourage her to look at who he hangs out with. Okay, does he have friends? Does he show he has relational strength in other areas of his life? Because if there's no sign of relational strength, please do not expect that in the marriage.
If he does have a really great guy friend group at his church.
Okay.
Ask your friend to ask him to listen to this program when it airs, because this is a recorded program. And if he won't do that, ask your friend to call this program. Maybe hear from her firsthand, and let her have some insight into this that maybe, not that you're missing, but maybe you're not quite aware of.
Yeah.
And we are for him, because all of us, even right here at this table, we were unwilling at some point, and we were afraid to get in the process too.
Absolutely.
It takes a whole lot of courage to go to therapy or to go to a group. It took me years to be willing to do it.
I say this because I'm so glad that you mentioned that, Alice. Both sometimes it takes us seeing another person and seeing what it's like for us to eliminate some of our exaggerated fears around it. But it's also pretty audacious that we ask people to touch their pain. But it's in order to heal it and to grow.
It's a common experience, I think, in group, that until that first person comes and is transparent and spills all of his guts on the table, then it just overflows. Somebody feels safe, the guy next to him across the circle, it starts.
Yeah, Larry, we have actually spent a whole day yesterday planning on new groups for our practice at Renovari Counseling, because we just know the power of groups. And as spaces are becoming more and more limited for people to get into individual therapy, it's not group therapy. Good group therapy is not a lesser form of therapy than individual therapy. I want people to know that out there. And that if you can't get into individual, look for the groups in your area.
Yeah. And when you go to a group, you can sit in the back of the room quietly and watch for a while. I knew I wanted group in my life, but I didn't know how to go about it, and I was anxious. I went to an Al-Anon meeting. It wasn't a struggle with anybody's addiction in my life at the time, but I'd heard of Al-Anon, and I knew I could slip into the back and sit and watch for a while. Yeah. And it took a couple sessions of that before I was willing to speak up and say why I was even there.
Yeah, absolutely. That's good.
What book could we send to Bethany?
I think How We Love.
Yep.
How We Love for her friend? Yep.
Yeah, it's a great resource.
Okay, Bethany, that'll be coming your way. Thanks for making a call, and thanks for being a good friend.
All right, Larry, I got to jump in again. Okay, so there's a term out there floating around that I want to give a little bit of clarity to. Because a lot of times we'll use these phrases, this jargon, and it gets misinterpreted or misunderstood. But it's trauma bond.
Yeah.
What a trauma bond is that when trauma has its effect on us, so it creates that our hurts that are unhealed, creates a sense of fear, hiding, but also shame. That there's something defective about me, and this is why this thing has happened. But our pain is always looking for a partner. Our pain is always looking for a companion. It's looking for solidarity. And so when we find somebody else shares us in our pain with their pain, and it finds its partner, then the bonding that happens around that, the connection around that is really, really strong. But if we organize a relationship around our pain, it typically doesn't have a whole lot of health to it. And that's really what we're looking at when we say trauma bond. We're bonded around our pain and all of the things that organize itself around that pain, especially the core shameful messages.
You were talking off air, Chris, about seeking love but mistaking comfort or intensity for love, and Bethany's friend might be mistaking the comfort in the relationship as a sign of the power of the love in the relationship. Would you talk about those two things and how we can be led astray?
Yeah, I think we need to start with what is love. And this is, I don't think 1 Corinthians 13 gets its due, because it gets relegated to an event, a wedding. Mm-hmm. But I think 1 Corinthians 13 is one of the most profound literary truths in human history. Because love is a great reckoner. We're all going to have to deal with it one way or another, and it gives definition. In fact, to say, if you have all of these other amazing things in your life, but you don't have love, even godly things in your life, but you don't have love, it's zero. It's nothing. But then it goes on to the least sexiest definition of love that we can possibly get, right? Love is patient. And long-suffering, I think. And really, I see that as it's empathy over a long period of time. You know, love is kind. It's to care for something with great fidelity, you know. And then it tells us what it's not. It's not easily angered. It doesn't keep right. It's not jealous. It's not self-seeking. You know, it's not boastful and prideful. You know, but it doesn't do its deeds in the dark. You know, what it does is it exposes the truth. It perseveres. It hopes. It's trustworthy. So when we start seeing these characteristics show up, both what is love and what's not love, then we can distinguish between the two. But when intensity gets me out of my pain, and it comes with this incredibly intoxicating experience of romantic love, then we mistake that as the quality or the core of love. Or when we feel comfort in our retreat. And both of those things are part of love, but they aren't love themselves.
Yeah.
And so we have this incredible gift as Christians to say, like, no, we have these core definitions that are going to persevere, that we know will always win in the end. But they're work.
Okay, well, if you can dwell on that and think about that a little bit, you're going to really be ahead of the game. We love what we do here. We love that Chris and Alice present so much wisdom and truth. So keep listening. We're going to have one more segment here in the program. I think we have one last call. And we look forward to getting right back with you right after this.
My husband's been addicted to porn since he was 10 years old.
I found out about 9 months into my marriage that he has a porn addiction.
My name is Shelly Martinkus, and I want to personally invite you to the Restore Workshop. If you have been affected by betrayal, it might be that your husband has been looking at pornography. It might be an emotional, physical affair. I would love for you to come join us.
Restore has empowered me and has given me the tools to work through my anger, work through my pain, work through my confusion, and help me realize that I am worthy.
Being here and being surrounded by people who get it has given me my power back.
Please don't hesitate. Pick up the phone, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. I would love to see you there.
The Restore Workshop is coming to Washington, D.C., November 12th through the 14th. To register or to find out more, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE or go online to newlife.com.
Thank you, Restore. You have changed my life forever.
Hi, this is Steve Arterburn, and for 30 years, New Life has been the most trusted name in Christian counseling.
I'm an addict, and I'm trying to get God in my life again.
You seem to be able to get to the crux of a problem quickly.
Our Christ-centered treatment programs can help you break free to embrace all that God has for you and your family.
I just want to thank you guys for bringing me to a relationship with Jesus.
There really is help for marital problems, depression, addictions, panic attacks, and feelings of hopelessness.
I came back with so many tools to help me prepare myself to fight this struggle and this battle that I have every day.
You can start living again today, living the life God intended for you. Help is available at 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
They did care, and they did follow up very lovingly. and it made all the difference in my life.
Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Someone who cares is waiting at the other end of the phone. God can open the door to a better tomorrow right now. Just call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. 1-800-639-5433.
To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Okay, we are back. And before we take our last caller, I just want to plug Every Man's Battle's coming up next week, guys. And here's a testimony that I want to encourage you to go. This has been an amazing workshop. Not only did I gain valuable tools to use in my fight against impurity, but I met a band of brothers that will support each other along our way. The 2.5 days were very intensive. Some moments really hit deep. I not only got tools, but I learned to identify my triggers. I realized there isn't a quick fix, but with my brothers in Christ, I have the support to control this. I entered the workshop wanting to get clean, and in praying God continues to do his work in me, and through him will give me and my wife a chance to reconcile and restore our marriage. Guys, if you can relate to that, please give us a call. It's just a week away in Houston, and it'll make a difference in your life.
And it's not just for the marriage, it's for the next generation, because it breaks the vicious cycle that will continue otherwise.
Really good point. Well, let's go and talk to Peter, calling from L.A. He listens on the internet. Peter, how you doing today?
Great, how are you?
Better than we deserve, but we want to help you, so tell us what's going on.
So, got married a couple of years ago, and moved away from home, and my wife moved away from home, and I've kind of personally been struggling with this idea of how feeling guilty about wanting to go back and see my family. If I make a trip nearby, I want to make sure I go and see them, and sometimes that's just not possible. But that kind of coupled with the fact that if I feel like I come close and I don't go and visit them, and I tell them that I feel guilty about it, and that they can feel very disappointed, specifically my mom. And so kind of just navigating that, and with COVID and travel restrictions, it's been, that's been kind of an excuse, right? Can't come because travel's not great. But now that we're kind of moving out of that, this kind of these feelings that were occurring at the beginning of my marriage are kind of coming up again now.
Peter, can I ask a question? If your guilt had a voice and can talk, what would it say?
I feel bad that I'm not there. I'm the oldest of two, just mom, dad, and sister. So I feel that voice is kind of like.
Peter, how old are you?
I wish I could be there. 25.
Okay, 25. And why is it necessary? Why do you believe it's necessary for you to be there? What problem do you solve?
What problem? Well, I feel like my parents, especially with my only having my younger sister, they don't have any family, feeling like I'm a significant percentage of the family that we have. And when I remove myself, when I'm not there, I feel like I'm kind of letting them down.
Oh,
right?
so
like I'm not.
So the problem that you solve is their loneliness.
Yeah. Well, yeah. The problem that I think I'm solving, certainly.
Okay.
Something along those lines. Yeah.
So here's a crazy thing. You and your family have done something incredibly difficult and amazing and healthy. They've raised a guy that now in his 20s got married, building a marriage, building a life, and can launch out into the world on his own. That's a good thing. It's a hard thing, though. Mm-hmm. It does come with separation. It comes with a sense of loss, that things are changing. And that, Henry Nouwen has this a quote that says, so much of praying is grieving. And life is grief because with each iteration or each chapter, as we close the previous chapter, there's something that's lost there. And so sometimes we have to allow ourselves and other people to go through that discomfort, that intermediate stage, and empty nestling or launching is really difficult. And we have to allow that. And what we want to do is rescue other people or ourselves out of that. And by doing that, again, we're just delaying the process.
And sometimes our parents ask or expect to be rescued by us.
Yeah.
Whether overtly or implicitly, the message can really be there. And it can be a strong, weighty message. How do your parents show their disappointment in you?
Well, excuse me, specifically with like coming to visit, it's kind of like, well, when's the next time you're going to come and visit? When's the next time we can see you? And I would say I have a fairly good relationship with my parents to the point where, I can call them, and just pick up where we left off. And they're not bringing it up every time, but it's like, Christmas is a big deal, right? How do you kind of manage that expectation with two sets of parents, in totally different states, and expenses and all that stuff. And so that's like, maybe to answer your question, that's kind of how it manifests, I would say.
And Peter, if you brought that to your mother in particular with something like, I'm concerned that my absence affects you. I hear it as you ask when I will come back. Mom, how are you doing with my absence? And are you disappointed that I moved away? You're disappointed in me that I moved away. What might she say?
So I've actually kind of talked to her about this.
Bravo.
And expressing where I felt like I was almost like a bad son in that sense. And she was very reassuring in that moment that I was certainly not. She grew up in Europe and moved to the U.S., met a man, married and started a family and stayed. And, she said from my perspective, if that makes a bad child, then I would be a terrible child.
Wow.
But she doesn't think that. And she's happy with what I'm doing and, why I moved away. And, but so that kind of like, but it's still there, even though she gives me that validation, it still kind of lingers, like I feel, I should go down. I should spend some time with them.
And Peter, is there
how much time you have?
Is there anything else that you hold against yourself? Any other break in relationship for which you consider yourself to be a bad son, other than moving away?
That's a good question. I think I've always kind of been this like third parent to my younger sister, who's 6 years younger than I. And I haven't been there for her in a lot of ways. And our relationship is not nearly as strong as my parents and mine. And so that's definitely, maybe even been a bigger source of it. And she's expressed interest in like wanting to have a better relationship with her big brother.
And are you a bad brother?
Not even,
because you're absent to her too.
I think in some ways I am, right. Like, she was actually in the hospital recently, and feeling like I should come. And my parents were saying, it's okay, you don't need to come. You're very busy with work. And I was thinking, well, I should anyway.
So Peter, we're coming up to the end of the show. But Peter, here's what I want to help you out with here, is that you're working really hard to be good. And as we get older, and again in our 20s, it took me a lot longer than it is you. I'm so glad you're doing this in your mid-20s. I didn't start till my 30s to do this work, and that is, I must now define me. I can't let other people's pain or expectations define me. So it's not who is the brother I want to be, who is the son I want to be, but right now, 2 years into your early marriage, the first question is, what is the husband I want to be?
And when we're following God's call first and foremost, he sometimes takes us away from family on purpose because he has other work for us to do.
Okay, see you next time.
Thanks for listening. We hope this program has helped you by giving you insights for handling the challenges you face in your life. We want you to know that we're here for you, but you also need to know that New Life Live is a listener-supported ministry. To make your donation or to get any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433, or write to us at New Life Ministries, P.O. Box 1029, Lake Forest, California, 92609. Please join us again tomorrow for New Life Live.
Hi, thank you for watching New Life Live. You know, New Life Live is a Christian counseling program where we deal with the hard questions about life, relationships, kids, free choice, freedom of will, whatever. It's all right there on New Life Live every day, every weekday, 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. If you want to call into the live broadcast, you can find the schedule on newlife.com or click the social media link right below. You can see every episode of New Life Live on the New Life YouTube channel. Watch it with a friend, watch it later. Be sure to subscribe and hit that bell so you'll never miss another episode. So if you want to listen on the go, download the app. The link is right below. And I hope if you need some information, if you want to get some help, you'll call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. And I'll see you next time.